Welcome back to another episode of Conversations. I'm Chitra.
And I'm Pav. And we are so happy to have you here today with us, but
It's actually our very last episode for the season. Can you believe that?
I know, I actually can't believe it. It's gone pretty fast, but in some ways it's also gone a little bit slow because there's been so much that we need to do, but fun all along the way.
Yeah, a lot of fun. We kick off with a quote or a joke.
That's
Do you
right.
have anything for us today?
I do have a quote for you today, and that quote is, "The unexamined life is not worth living," by Socrates.
Love that. And so appropriate for our last episode, which is all around the theme of reflections.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, looking back on this, as we just said, we can't believe how quickly it's gone by, but we want to talk about how this all came about, a little bit about the feedback that we've got, and we'd just like to, share with you a conversation, not with a special guest, but
With each other.
that's right.
One of our most exciting episodes. But yeah, looking forward to this. I think we need to reflect a little bit about not only our lives, our friendships, our childhood, but
Yeah.
also the podcast and the journey that we've taken thus far.
Exactly. I love that.
Well, the first question, we usually start off with the first question around childhood for all of our guests. So I'm going to ask you the same thing.
Yeah.
Where were you born? Where did you grow up? And what were you curious about?
Yeah, okay. Well, I was born in Bangalore or Bengaluru, India, and I wasn't there for very long. I kind of left India before I turned one because my dad got a job in Kenya, Nairobi. So our whole family, meaning mum, dad and me, moved to Kenya, Nairobi, and then my sister was born in Kenya when I was 4. And then we kind of moved to Sydney when I was about 7.5. And the rest is history. I've called Sydney home ever since.
Yeah.
In terms of what I was curious about, I was a really free-spirited child. Like, I was so lucky to have 2 parents that allowed me to do whatever I wanted, gave me whatever I needed. So, I was very happy-go-lucky, free-spirited, whether it be dancing, singing, drama, bike riding, like whatever I wanted to do, I did. And in some ways I look back and go, it's such a shame because when you grow older, you kind of lose a little bit of that curiosity and that free-spiritedness. But, what I do, speaking about, childhood per se, I very, very clearly remember when I was 12 or 13 years old, we were at a family friend's house, and I remember a little Indian girl walking in. I was probably in year 8, and I'd never seen her before, and I thought to myself, who is this chick and where has she come from? So on that note, can you tell me a little bit about your childhood and what you were curious about?
This is making me very nostalgic. But look, I was born in Bengaluru as well, and we moved here when I was about 11. And as a child, again, very lucky to have a beautiful, large family, very close to both of my grandmothers, aunties, uncles, cousins, etc. So loved that childhood in India, and then moved here as an 11-year-old. And that was an interesting migrant experience.
Yeah.
In terms of what I was curious about, I think everything. I loved exploring the world around me.
Yeah.
But particularly about nature. I remember looking up at the clouds and wondering how they're formed and how are they, beautifully sailing past in the sky.
Yeah.
Or I specifically remember the gulmohar tree back in India, which was bright red, and I would love staring at the flowers and observing how they're formed. And similarly, when I was a teenager or tween here, around 11, 12 years old, when we moved here, looking at the jacaranda flowers and just admiring their beauty. So I think I was curious about a lot of things, but specifically about nature.
Yeah, it seems that way. And you've always, I feel like you've grown that way as well. Like you've blossomed, no pun intended, in the same fashion. And now that you've said that, I feel like I remember once finding myself sitting either at a bus stop or a railway station as a school kid watching thousands of people at Town Hall Station and thinking each one of these people has their own life, their own past, their own story in some ways. And we are just one tiny, tiny little speck in these thousands of people with our own mark and our own story. And we're also trying to make a little bit of difference. So
That's a great perspective.
yeah.
All right, so we talked a little bit about our childhood, But it wasn't, I mean, we weren't just friends, right? We actually did quite a few things together through
Yeah, that's
childhood and teenage years and young adults.
Absolutely. You know, I remember even very, very early on that we did some dances together, especially in the Kannada Sangha, in the Kannada community.
Yep. Oh, you were such a good choreographer. I remember the Adavi Devi dance, which you choreographed, and
so fun.
Loved dancing to that at the Kannada Sangha as a teenager.
Yes. There were some dramas that we did. I'm not sure if you remember. We all kind of had a little role to play, and it was fun.
Yeah. We also emceed at the Ganeshotsava, which was a huge crowd. Even at the time, this must have been in the late 90s.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed emceeing that with you.
Yeah, that's right. And we also did, if you remember, the same song many years later that we did at Kannada Sangha at Cultural Night at uni.
We did.
Which was really cool.
We did. So, and there were a couple of Bollywood dances as well that you choreographed that we danced at Cultural Night. Yeah, I enjoyed all of that. And more recently, we emceed at Sydney Srinivasa's book launch as well.
We did.
Which we enjoyed.
And then finally, this podcast has probably been the latest thing that or adventure that we've kind of embarked on together, which has been nice. So, I mean, speaking about the podcast, I guess we've had a lot of feedback from a lot of viewers, so thank you for watching. But a lot of the questions that came was, how did you actually come up with this idea? What made you want to do something like this? And why did you decide that this was a path that you wanted to explore? So I'll ask you that.
Yeah, happy to answer that. We actually had an event in our corporate world, and I organized an International Women's Day event. I think it was around last year sometime. And our first guest, Pradnya, actually came for that event, and we had a wonderful session with a lot of people attending as well. So since then, it had been on my mind about how can I take this to more people, because there's such great people within our community who are doing wonderful work. So how do we make it visible? So that was one thing. I think the second thing was, well, how do I learn from people like that? And how can I improve myself? And I think the podcast idea, I mean, that's just what the latest is today, right? That's the way of being creative. People can access it anywhere.
That was important.
Easy. So that was on my mind. So that's how the idea came about. And I just needed someone whom I could work with. So the first person I could think of was you.
Thank you. I am honoured.
Do you want to share? Maybe why don't you share about how we then took the journey forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think I was stoked when you kind of came up with an idea. It's a completely new foray for me. It's nothing like I've ever done before. And I think it started off from a very basic idea of just doing something together that, one, I think is relevant to us as people, and in the time that we're living at the moment as well. Like, what age are we at? What are we going through as people? And how is that going to be relevant? And then picking an audience, because we can't really pick an audience that's not who we are, essentially. So that was really important. And then picking topics that were relevant, I think, was really important, because we wanted to kind of grow and learn ourselves as people, and understand ourselves better through this journey as well. So there was a little bit of that element that kind of came into this. And then they're very logistical things, I guess, from like every Friday we had a meeting in the diary, which was very cute. And, yes, it was a meeting for something that we were doing, but you're a friend of mine, and it was nice because we always connected with, how was your week? How was work? All the normal questions that you do at the beginning of every meeting. But I feel like it connected us on a deeper level than just friendship, which we're used to.
I think that's one thing I have loved, that we haven't, I mean, we do catch up for dinners or chats or whatever, but this has been more meaningful for our friendship as well, but also from a personal point of view, a personal journey, to be able to work on something like this and then see the outcome at the end of it, right?
I agree.
And the meaningful connections we've made as well.
I agree. And there's a level of like dedication and accountability that goes with something like this that you don't normally see with friends, which again brings a relationship to a different level in some ways.
Okay, changing pace a little bit.
Okay.
What was the one thing you enjoyed?
Our guests. Look, I think meeting people that are in our community but I've never known or met before, being Indian Australian, it was so wonderful to expand my network. Okay, your turn. What is probably one of the most challenging things?
Oh my gosh, the production of it, just the logistics of like which lights are we going to use, what equipment, what recording your cameras,
Yeah.
what kind of a studio setting, and then the editing, what software to use, how to edit. We're not professionals in any of this, right?
Yeah.
I literally had to learn it from scratch, and we learned it along the way. Like I was literally fine-tuning every episode.
Yeah, and you can see that actually from our episodes that there's been a bit of an iteration in terms of our first to the last. And I think hats off to you. I think you've got a new skill. I love that.
So we had a segment in each of our episodes called Key Takeaways. Pav, what is one thing that you've implemented from all of those takeaways?
Look, there were so many great takeaways, but one thing that I have implemented is be the best version of yourself from a health perspective at the age of 50. And that was from Dr. Raj Puranik. And it kind of hit home to me because I'm very closely approaching that number. And I feel like I've still got time to make a meaningful impact there. So I have decided to take steps to very practically implement another form of exercise in my life.
Love that.
Yeah, thank you. What about you?
My key takeaways, I think from the very first episode, the fear of failure, continuous learning, and dabbling in something new. So I think in each episode I've tried to inculcate that as well.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
You know what's so interesting? In the last episode with Neelam, actually, there was this piece where it was talking about life as a creative journey. And I actually think your life is a creative journey.
Thank you.
I very much see that in all aspects of your life, whether it be through your dance, whether it be the way you engage with the community, whether it means hosting events which are very art focused or just creatively inclined. And I also feel that your hunger to do things despite being tired or having so much on your plate, you will still prioritize these things in your life. And I genuinely believe that you walk the path of life being a creative journey. So
thank you. That's a lovely observation.
I very much mean it.
And look, similarly, I've observed something in you, which is you give everything a go. And that's such a rare quality in a person, right? Especially with people our age, we tend to be fearful of something new where we're uncertain. But even with this podcast or anything in general, you're always willing to give it a go. And the fun factor, you brought the fun factor into this podcast. And I knew you would because that's who you are. And that's what we talked about in one of the key takeaways as well, not taking ourselves too seriously. And I feel like you embody that. And that's something I would love to emulate.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, at the end of every episode for our guests, we usually end by asking a question from our previous guest, as you know. So we have actually asked our previous guest, who was Neelam Gopalani, to give us both a question today. So I have a question for you and I'm going to read it so I don't get it wrong. If you reflect back on where the world is today, what are some of the choices you hope the younger generation will make differently? It's heavy.
Gosh. Look, my advice to the younger generation would be take the time to really understand yourself, to explore yourself, and understand what you stand for. What are your likes and dislikes? What ticks you? What values you want to stand by? And I think all of this will really help inform the choices that you make. So when you do make the choices, I feel like if you know yourself, if you understand yourself better, then that will help bring harmony into your life. So that would be my advice.
And I think that harmony will also contribute to the community without even you realizing, because you're following your passion. And it will be obvious in your actions. So that's wonderful. I think that's wonderful advice to the younger generation.
Thank you. And I've got the question for you, which is, what would you tell your younger self to do more of?
Look, I do feel like, when I was younger, I used to laugh a lot more. I used to be silly a lot more. I used to stress a lot less about everything because nothing I felt was that important in that way. The other thing I would say is listen more. I think we are so quick to speak these days that we don't stop to listen enough. And so much of our learning happens when we listen. Live in the moment is another one. I feel we're so quick to think about the past or the future all the time that we just forget that we're here now. Just make the most of it. Be present. And without devices, ideally. I know this is being recorded on a device and I know we all have a phone, but if we can just put our devices aside for a little while and just be present with a connection, I think that's so important. So.
And I think one thing I'd love to add to that is presence over productivity, right? That's something I'm trying to live by now, where before it was a tick list or a to-do list of here are all the things I want to do today. But now a successful day would be, have I been present? Have I noticed the things around me? And have I really been with the people around me rather than accomplishing a list of to-do tasks?
And it's so funny. I even apply that to like travel. In the past, I used to be like, oh yeah, church scene. Oh yeah, waterfall scene. But now if you just walk around and enjoy the people, the scenery, just breathe the air, just be.
Yeah.
I feel like you're getting so much more out of it.
Yeah. I hope some younger people are listening to this.
Yeah. But guys, thank you so much for your support and for watching. I feel like this was such a new and exciting initiative for us, and without all of you, it wouldn't have been so fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for the love, support. So many people have watched our episodes.
Yeah.
They've come up and said thank you for doing the great work. And look, this one feedback really stayed with me in my heart. Someone, a family friend that we know, came up to me and said thank you for the great community service work that you both are doing. And that was so lovely to hear, the acknowledgement that, you know, the work that we are doing has not gone unseen or unheard. And we didn't really have that intention in mind, right?
Not at all.
Yeah, like this was more, I mean, as we've mentioned what our intention with the episodes were, to have someone come and say that was really lovely and so sweet. So it's been great to have the support, love, and we hope to continue our journey.
Absolutely, and we definitely hope it resonated with you, and we are going to take a very small break and look back on all the things that we've done, see what we can do better, and maybe hopefully come back with something new, different, or the same.
And that's it
From us,
for now, folks.
your hosts,
Chitra,
and Pav.
signing off. Until next time.
You didn't think all of this was serious, did you?
We do have fun along the way.
We sure did, so stick around.
For bloopers.
Lights, camera, action!
I like it.
Well said, Pav.
Did you say?
Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Pav and Chitra. I'm Pav.
Yeah, did you start the recording?
Yes, it did. I did it. Yeah.
Second, 5.
Art, creativity, and well-being. That's okay. It's about you. You always kick off with a joke. Okay, yep. Okay.
Okay, just speak loudly.
Yep.
Conversations with Pav and Chitra.
I have no idea what we're saying.
And I have so many takeaways. I totally agree. Absolutely love that. Okay. Well, we'll come back to you.
What was one thing you enjoyed?
What's one thing you found challenging?
She's a migrant. She is a city girl who... Whoops. Just, they can cut that. That's fine. That's fine. Keep that. Because I did it right the first time. Is that going to work?
I might just keep Go for it. You know what? These are from Kmart.
Oh, how are we actually starting this?